Greetings, Packers fans, wherever you may be. It's time for another edition of the Pack Attack Cast. Sorry, we haven't had a stream in a couple days. I was traveling for a convention, and unfortunately, I just couldn't get away to get some streams and really do them justice. I wanted to take some time to watch the All 22 uh, a couple times for this game before I discussed the Packers versus Giants. Um, and with traveling and meetings, and I just couldn't get it done um, in a way that would really do it justice. So I said I'd rather wait till I get back from my trip so I can really focus in and give you the information you deserve as Packer fans. So I'm just going to give you a quick reaction on Packers versus Giants. I'm sure everybody else has watched numerous videos about the game, what went right, what went wrong. So I'm just going to focus on some highlights and quick talking points. And then we're going to get on to the Vikings. Very excited about this game. I will actually be at Lambeau live for this game. So if you're interested in meeting up while I'm in Lambeau, drop me an email at packattackcast@gmail.com. I'll be in Green Bay Saturday afternoon, and then Sunday morning, obviously, and at the game and after the game. So if you're interested in meeting up, I'd love to do so. So drop me a line. I'm going to try to get to the game early, make the rounds, enjoy the tailgating and the festivities and everything that makes the Packers in-game experience a unique thing. If you've never been to a Packers game at Lambeau Field, it is truly a sports mecca. So it's a pro football feel, right? Because you've got professional athletes, you've got the excitement of what each game means for the Green Bay Packers and their opponents, but at the same time, you've got it in a small town that it just makes it feel like you're in a college atmosphere, right? So it's like pro game, but college experience. And I mean that in a good way. Like people are hanging out and talking and everybody's cool. And, even Vikings fans and when I went week one, Lions fans are welcomed and treated with respect. Of course, during the game, we want to beat the heck out of the Lions, but we're still very cordial fans. Unlike some cities like Philadelphia or the Raiders back when they were in Oakland, where you actually felt uncomfortable being a fan for another team. I think Lambeau Field is one of those places you can go as an opponent fan and feel safe and feel relatively welcomed, at least until the game starts. So it's really fun to go out there in person, and I'm really looking forward to that on Saturday and Sunday because it's a whole weekend event. Because you get to enjoy the town and the events and sights and sounds before the game. Then you enjoy the game, and then hopefully with the Packers victory, everybody's going to be having a good time. So I'm really excited about that. But let's talk about the Packers versus Giants really quickly. Drops were the theme of the game on offense and defense. There was at least 8 or 9 drops by receivers in this game. Receivers, if they weren't dropping the ball, were fumbling it out almost twice. Musgrave, I'm looking at you. So it really was a situation where the wide receivers were not helping out the offense. Much like I saw against the Eagles, I saw Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love in sync and doing what they needed to do to win the game. Matt LaFleur called one of his better games of the season, I thought, given the resources he has player-wise, since we had so many players out. Jordan Love was a machine. We're going to talk about his toughness later, but he was making incredible throws in this game. There were so many throws in this game that if Jordan Love didn't make those throws, they would have lost the game. So Jordan Love, through his own strength and willpower, won this game. I know the Packers love to run the ball, and believe me, I love Josh Jacobs and I love the run game, but really, we need to let Jordan Love have the offense run through him. And he can clearly put on a cape and win a game for the Packers. Um, so hopefully the Packers are going to be working on the jugs machine this week to get people to catch the ball, because it wasn't just the receivers. The defensive backs dropped at least 4 interceptions, and that just cannot happen. I feel like if the receivers were catching the ball and not fumbling it out of bounds and all kinds of crazy shenanigans, again, looking at you, Musgrave, this game probably would have been a blowout game for the Packers. And because of all these miscues and drop balls, both on offense and defense, we kept the Giants in the game to the point that if it wasn't for Jordan Love making an amazing pass to Savion Williams, I don't know if they won this game. I really don't. They were on their last gasps. Savion Williams made a great play on a perfect throw by Jordan Love that really won the game. I want to take my hat off to Malik Willis as well in this game, because if we didn't have the quality backup we had, we could have also lost this game against the Giants. Malik Willis is the best backup ever for the Packers, okay? He doesn't make any waves. He understands his role. When he gets called into the game, he just does what he has to do to win the game. We've seen it so many times. He's not a threat to Jordan Love, so we don't have any quarterback competitions or any nonsense like that. But he is such a quality clutch backup. And I really do think somebody in the NFL is going to give him a chance to at least compete for a game, for a starting role next year. He would be a solid bridge quarterback. He could also be a reclamation project quarterback. When he was drafted, the Titans had such high hopes for him. It never worked out. But we've seen so many players that were left for dead come back and have great careers that I do think Malik Willis will get a shot in the NFL at some point. Ironically, I think one of the places he could end up is if Kyler Murray moves on from the Cardinals. I think he would be a really good upgrade over Murray, because I think he has a more physicality. I think he's better at throwing the deep ball than Murray at this stage in his career. So that's something to watch very carefully. I would love to see the Packers find a way to re-sign him, but I don't think we're going to have the salary cap ability, because I think not only is somebody going to offer him an opportunity to compete for a job, but I think they're going to give him $10 to $12 million to compete for a job. And the Packers just don't have that luxury salary cap wise. So the benefit is we'll probably get a compensation pick for the loss of Malik Willis in 2027. But I don't think it's going to be a significant opportunity for the Packers to re-sign Malik Willis, all things being considered. But I want to give my hats off once again to Jordan Love. He's got to be the player of the game against the Giants. He willed this team to victory. He was hit on his non-throwing shoulder. He was knocked out of the game. He was initially told to be questionable almost immediately after the accident, after the collision. So everybody was panicked and we're like, oh, what's going to happen with the season now? But he toughed it out. Next series, he was back in there, and I was so proud of what Jordan Love did as a quarterback in this game. It was extremely poor conditions to throw the ball, and yet Jordan Love had an excellent efficiency in this game. He didn't have big yardage, but he put the ball where it needed to be to help the Packers win the game. And I think if the Packers had lost this game against the Giants, it is realistic to feel that the Packers might have closed their window to win this division. as of right now, the division is wide open. I hear a lot of Bears chirping about how they're first place in the division. They have a 5% better win loss, 0.5 better win ratio than the Packers because we have a tie. They have a win. That could be flipped immediately. In fact, I think it would be fantastic, and we don't know if Aaron Rodgers is going to play this week, but how amazing would it be as a Packer fan to go out there, handle our business against the Vikings, and have Aaron Rodgers, who always owned the Bears, go out and beat the Bears this coming week. We don't know if Aaron Rodgers is going to play, to be fair. My guess would be they put a brace on the non-throwing arm for Aaron Rodgers, and he at least tries to play in that game. And how amazing would it be if Aaron Rodgers beat the Bears, the Packers beat the Vikings, and before you know it, guess who's back in first place in the division? This division is going to be very exciting. Now, a lot of fans have been frustrated. Like, how come we're not playing against the division until later in the season? The NFL is very smart. They are very smart, and they have a very successful product because they think ahead. And how amazing will it be down the stretch when the Packers have to play the Lions, they have to play the Vikings twice, and they still have to play the Bears twice. This division is going to be decided at the end of the season because they backload all of the divisional competition to the end of the season. It is genius what the NFL has done. And it's going to be so exciting. Excuse me. Because the Packers control their own destiny. Okay? All roads to the playoffs are open. I don't know if they could catch the Eagles for the number 1 seed. Crazier things have happened. But what I do know is we play the Lions, we play the Bears twice, we play the Vikings twice. If the Packers go 4-1 in that slate, they almost certainly will win the division. And it starts this week against the Vikings. Then we go right into the Lions. Then we play the Bears. Then we play the Broncos. Then we play the Bears. Then we play the Vikings. At the end of the season, it's all in front of the Packers. You know, we've been frustrated the last couple of weeks. We want to see the Packers play like they played week 1 or week 2. They can get there. If the injuries turn around, the Packers can absolutely get there. So speaking of injuries, let's start talking about next week. We're going to close the door on the Giants, and we're going to start talking about the Minnesota Vikings here. Number 1, does Josh Jacobs play against the Vikings? We're going to go through the injury report, and I'll give you a little bit of a spoiler. Josh Jacobs did not participate in practice today. Matt LaFleur commented that he was day-to-day, and they're hoping to get him ready to play on Sunday. Matt LaFleur knows how important this game is on Sunday, and it's much easier to beat the Vikings if you can run the ball and control the clock and keep the elite wide receivers for the Vikings off the field. J.J. McCarthy has not played well for the last couple weeks, which really makes Justin Jefferson almost a waste. J.J. McCarthy is wasting the best years of an amazing wide receiver right now in Jefferson. So there's every reason to believe that we can beat the game without Josh Jacobs, but I would love to see Josh Jacobs when I'm in the stand on Sunday. I think it's about 50-50 whether he will play against the Vikings. I know Josh Jacobs is a warrior. Josh Jacobs knows how important these divisional games are, and he is lots of grit and determination. So I would love to see Josh Jacobs find a way to play this week. but we're going to have to watch that very close. Another thing I've been watching very closely, and not a lot of people are talking about it, is ever since training camp, Aaron Banks has been hurt. He's had one injury after another, and he actually had a full outing this past week, and he played very well. So can Aaron Banks turn the tide? Everybody's been frustrated about his free agency acquisition. They think he's a bust. They think it was a waste of money. I think the best years for Aaron Banks are ahead of him, and I think if he stays healthy, he can actually enhance this offensive line and change the mind of everybody who's frustrated with his performance to date. Let's take a look at that injury report for this upcoming game. Go ahead and share that with you. Our Packers injury report brought to you by Amplify Health. Now, that's not a sponsorship for me. That is a sponsorship for the Packers. Just want to give Amplify Health their due for sponsoring the injury report. So we're looking at the injury report on Packers.com. We have Carl Brooks with an ankle, did not participate. Bullard, limited participation with an ankle. Edrin Cooper, limited participation. Romeo Dobbs, wrist, limited participation. Matthew Golden, limited participation. Nate Hobbs did not participate today. Josh Jacobs, as I said, did not participate today. Jordan Love, most importantly, full participation. That is huge that Jordan Love was not limited after that game. One of the things that can happen with joint issues like the shoulder is they can swell up, or you can grit through the pain in the moment, but after the game, you find that you can't do the same things that you could do in the game. The fact that Jordan Love was a full participant today tells me that Jordan Love's shoulder is going to be fine. I bet you 100% they're managing the pain. He will probably go in with some extra padding and protection for a couple weeks on that shoulder, but it sounds like all things are good for Jordan Love. Brandon McManus, full participant today. We should talk about Brandon McManus and Haversack. I still think Brandon McManus is the best kicker for this team. Could he have made those extra points against the Giants? It's hard to say. The weather was horrible. We saw both kickers miss point afters. But if the Packers need a field goal to win a game, to win the division, to win a playoff game, I want Brandon McManus in there. And I think the organization feels the same way. So I fully expect that once Brandon McManus is fully healthy, Haversack might be released, and then maybe they'll try to put him on the practice squad or something like that. But I do think Brandon McManus is the kicker for the Packers, at least for the rest of this year. Keyshawn Nixon has an illness, limited participation. Micah Parsons, pictorial, limited. Zach Tom, back, limited. Lucas Van Ness, limited. Quay Walker did not participate. We're going to watch this very closely. Quay Walker went out with a stinger in his neck. Hopefully he'll be a full go by Thursday or Friday, and he'll be playing in this game because he's very critical to the defense. He is a player that we really need to have to take the defense to an elite level. Christian Watson, limited. That's not a surprise. He's still on a pitch count in practice. Donatavian Wicks, limited. And Savion Williams did not participate. Now, we know Savion Williams had a walking boot before the game against the Giants. He gutted it out, and he played in that game. I would look for them to rest Savion Williams, much like we've seen in past weeks, and he will be available for the game. Now, don't be worried about all these limited participations. The Packers know, as well as I do, that the key to them unlocking Their full potential on offense and defense is getting these players back healthy. So look for that to continue with limited participation on Wednesdays, and then they ramp up the players on Thursday and Friday. So don't let the limited participation concern you on Wednesdays. If it's Friday and we see limited participation, then I'm much more concerned. Let's look at the Vikings. Tackle Christian Dershaw, full participation. He should be fine for this week's game. Will Freeze, with a knee injury, did not participate on Wednesday. We're going to have to see if that's the case on Thursday and Friday. That would be a big loss for the Vikings in their offensive line. Jonathan Greenard, shoulder, did not participate. Aaron Jones, shoulder, full participation. Aaron Jones will be up for this game. You know Aaron Jones is going to be up anytime that they play the Packers. So Aaron Jones is going to be one of our keys to seeing what happens in this game. We need to contain Aaron Jones because he loves to show up the Packers. Ryan Kelly, center, has a concussion, full participation. So he's going to be fine for this game. So if you look at the two injury reports, what you're going to find here is the Packers do have a lot more nagging injuries than the Vikings, but I think the Packers have the depth to overcome that, and a lot of the injuries are just are veteran rest and caution. As we get closer into the week, the Packers are going to ramp up, and you're going to see more and more players participate in practice. So that's this edition of the Pack Attack Cast for today. What we're going to start doing Thursday, we're going to start looking at keys of the game and injury reports. Fridays, same thing. Saturday, we're going to do our pregame. That's probably going to be in person at Lambeau. Well, not at Lambeau, but I will be in Green Bay, so I'll probably be doing it in my hotel room. But we're going to get you ready all the way up to game time against the Minnesota Vikings. I'm going to watch the actives and inactives for the game. I'll probably give you an update at the stadium about what's going on with the actives and inactives for the game. Then, of course, we're going to have the game on Sunday. I will have a post-game reaction, again, probably from my hotel room, on Sunday. And then on Monday, hopefully a victory Monday, we're going to start looking at the Lions because we have a very short week. We have the Vikings, then we have the Lions, and both of those games are equally important. They're both divisional games. Obviously, if I had to pick one of the two games to win, it would be against the Lions. But I think the Packers can get things together and beat both of those games in a period of both of those teams in a period of 5 days. So we're going to start talking about the Vikings in better depth starting tomorrow. So hit that sub button if you haven't already done so. We're trying to get to 14,000 subs before Thanksgiving. I don't know if we're going to get there, but we're going to give it our best shot to get to 14,000 subs before Thanksgiving. You can make that happen. But we'll be back tomorrow with all the information you need about Packers Vikings. As always, go Pack Go, and we'll see you tomorrow.